Friends, today is the anniversary of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. As we celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech that was given on that occasion, we remember his commitment to the beloved community, his commitment to justice, his commitment to speak on behalf of the marginalized and the oppressed. We are reminded of his courage to speak truth to power. Dr. King's words encourage all of us to consider our responsibilities laid upon us to live into our mission of the United Methodist Church, which is to make disciples for the transformation of the world. On August 28th, 1963, the day of the speech, it was hot and sunny in Washington, D.C. 250,000 people showed up to march on that day. My grandfather was one of them. He had taken the train from Cleveland, Ohio to Washington, D.C., and he stayed with a friend of his from his seminary days. At that point in time, it was the biggest assembly of people ever gathered. It was an event that would transform the lives of so many. People of all ages and all walks of life came not merely to be in the audience, but as participants. Never had they worked on anything of this magnitude before. A coalition of various civil rights groups coming together, different races, different ethnicities, men, women, and children, all came together on that day in August 1963. On the night before the event, Dr. King's advisors and speechwriters had gathered with him to give him some guidance and suggestions for the next day's message. Some said to him, "Dr. King, the people have come to hear you preach." Others said, no, they've come to hear you give political direction for where we need to go for the future. Dr. King listened for a while, but eventually he thanked everyone for their advice and their time, and he said, "I'm going to go up and work on my speech in counsel with the Lord." So when the next day arrived, everyone was curious as to what he was going to say. After the music and all the introductions, Dr. King read a few written paragraphs from his prepared speech. But then Mahalia Jackson interrupted him, and she said, and I quote, "Tell them about the dream, Martin. Tell them about the dream." It was at that point that his body language changed to more of a preacher stance. And it was then that Clarence B. Jones, his speechwriter, who was on the platform with him that day, said to someone who was standing next to him, "These people here don't know it, but they are going to be going to church." Dr. King said, "I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up." And it was then that he began to really preach from his heart, from his soul, from his guts. "I have a dream today," he said. "My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today." Each time when I hear him talk about his little children, in my mind, I can't help thinking back over all I've been through in my life, all that my parents and my grandparents went through, and I truly feel like he is talking about me. "With this faith," he said, "we will be able to transform from the jangling discords of our nation." The image that he painted that day was of a future a future that isn't beyond our reality, to believe that these dreams can still be fulfilled, that we can be better than this. Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech was a summons. It was a call to the collective conscience of America, both then and now. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. May it be so.